While we're on the topic of the environment, I thought this might be a good time to talk about words and how they can be used to confuse and mislead. Bush's Clear Skies initiative actually lets polluters off the hook, and his Healthy Forests initiative allows loggers to hack down millions of our acres of national forests. Who thinks up this stuff? You might suspect that terrorists have infiltrated the corridors of Washington and are working from the inside, trying to demoralize us by giving our kids asthma from air pollution and trashing our natural resources. You're not far from the truth. This is an inside job, but these terrorists are not Islamic fundamentalists. They're conservative pseudoscientists paid by wealthy Republicans to do that propaganda voodoo that they do so well. These elite academics of the radical right study the American electorate the way Garry Kasparov studies a chessboard. Then they teach Republicans how to walk and talk like fiscal and social moderates, all the while defending the interests of banks, oil companies, and bomb makers.
The Wind-Corrected Munitions Dispenser, WCMD, provides strike aircraft with accurate pattern laydown capability for cluster munitions in an inexpensive tail kit. This low-cost dispenser guidance kit turns existing cluster munitions into all-weather precision-guided weapons.
Among the worst of these social engineers is Dr. Frankenstein himself, Frank Luntz. If you haven't heard of Luntz, don't be surprised. Like Scooter Libby, Grover Norquist, and other members of Washington's shadow government, Luntz likes to keep a low profile. But he has become such a darling of the GOP that it's getting hard to lay low. Now he's testifying before congressional committees.
In your polling, did you see any differences when you broke out urban versus suburban versus rural respondents?
The biggest difference actually is partisan. And there is some difference when I say that it is bipartisan. The difference is that you get 90% of Democrats supporting these various principles, low 80s among independents, mid to upper 70s among Republicans.
The neocons at Fox News can't get enough of Luntz. As the 2004 election unfolded, Luntz appeared on the show to gloat about his prediction that Ohio would go for Bush. Luntz was quick to downplay the impossibly large difference between exit poll results and final vote tallies.
Congratulations. How come you're so smart?
Maybe it's because I'm also so tired. You could feel Ohio, you could see it. Look, Ohio's a Republican state, and it should have been in Bush's column. But that it would end up being the swing state, that was a little bit tougher.
Some thought that, okay, these numbers will continue, and if you don't believe what you were seeing, were you thinking fraud?
It's not an issue of fraud, it's an issue of incompetence. And people like me who are taught to trust these, because after all, it is exit polling. It's not just something on the television, telephone. I trusted it. Put an end and say, this election's over, because you know what? The election is over.
Yeah. And so's the interview. The smartest guy in polling, Frank Luntz, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great call yesterday on Ohio.
Thank you.
You may recall that as we reported in April, the odds of those poll results being so far from the actual vote were about 250 million to 1. Chalk up one more stolen election. Luntz has taken many of the right's most anti-democratic, corporate-friendly ideas and repackage them with new labels that make them sound bright and shiny and new. Drilling for oil is now called exploring for energy. Globalization has become free market economy. Privatization is called personalization. School choice is now equal opportunity in education. The estate tax is now the death tax. Liberty News TV managed to obtain a copy of Luntz's playbook for the 2005 Congress. Let's take a look inside. Remember when the U.S. flag and the Statue of Liberty used to belong to all Americans? Well, Luntz figured he could turn those symbols into brand logos for Republican policies. You will never find any symbol as powerful as the American flag, his playbook reads. The flag is the Rorschach test, the inkblot on which Americans project their ideals of America. Rorschach. Bet you won't be seeing that word at many of those NASCAR rallies Bush likes to attend. Next, Luntz tells Republicans how to exploit the Statue of Liberty as a symbol of American patriotism, along with the American eagle. But the last paragraph sums up the Luntz philosophy. The American people cannot always be expected to directly bridge the gap between your policies and your principles. Symbols bridge the gap, so use them, and use them liberally. Allow me to translate. Your audience is not as smart as you, so prey on their ignorance by exploiting the symbols that they hold dear. On the other side of the doublespeak coin is a word warrior every progressive should know. His name is George Lakoff, and he's teaching progressives how to recapture both symbols and language. For example, here's a clip where Lakoff talks about how to frame Bush's policy failures in a way that will resonate with many conservatives.
If someone claims to be a strict father politician like Bush, he cannot be weak. But Bush is. Not only is he weak in many ways, he's weakening the country. He has made the country weak militarily. He has made the country weak diplomatically in terms of our respect around the world. He has made the country weak economically. He has made the country weak in terms of its educational system, in terms of its environment. Bush is weakening this country, and that makes him a weak president.
I've been working on filling in for Frank Luntz. Have you seen my first press conference? You there in the back.
A lot of people describe George Bush, Dick Cheney, and Donald Rumsfeld as liars, warmongers, and hypocrites. How would you describe them?
No, thanks for your question. Obviously, the war is not their fault. The war on terrorism resulted from the failed policies of Bill Clinton. The people you just mentioned are patsies, or should I say, stooges.
What happened? Nothing. Oh! Follow me.
I'm recommending the president's team be referred to from now on as the League of Democracy Enforcers. Hello.
Will Mr. Cheney invade Iran?
We all know someone who has a problem with drinking. Like alcoholics, Islamic fundamentalists have not acknowledged that they have a problem. So we need to help them help themselves. Mr. Cheney continues to believe a freedom intervention is the appropriate response.
Everything goes perfectly. And this...
Another question?
Dr. Quinn, can you comment on the Karl Rove act of treason?
That's a partisan political attack. We don't respond to those. Yes, Jeb. Nice to see you here.
Just one quick question. How can we sell more lottery tickets to Indians and colored folks?
Simple. Call the tickets wealth vouchers. Yes, Mr. Delay. Mr. Jones.
The Republicans are being blamed for everything, from losing the war in Iraq to global warming. Well, can't somebody else take the bullet?
Surveys show that nothing silences criticism like throwing your hands up and dropping to your knees. 3 words can get you off the hook. The insurance companies figured this out a long time ago. Repeat after me. Act of God.
I find no fault in him.
That's all for this month. Remember, we depend on your support to keep this show going. To help out, look for our information in the credits. And remember, it's your flag, your eagle, and your country. I'm Kevin Quinn, and we'll see you next time.